So about 64 years ago, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee created the Fantastic Four, and it debuted in comics and really took the comics world by storm. It began and started the revolution of superheroes at Marvel Comics that we are still enjoying today. However, in the early 2000s, Brian Michael Bendis, Mark Millar, and Adam Kubert did an update on the origin of Marvel's first family with Ultimate Fantastic Four. So let's flip the camera around, put this book under the microscope, and check out Fantastic Four Omnibus, Volume 1. Stay tuned and watch this video until the end. And we're back. My name is Taylor. This is Taylor Talks Comics. Thank you for joining me. Before I go over the Ultimate Fantastic Four Volume 1 Omnibus, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below with any of your thoughts throughout the duration of this video. All those things help the YouTube algorithm put my videos on my channel in front of other comic book readers' eyeballs that might not know my channel exists on YouTube. And also thank you to organicpricebooks.com. You can buy this book on organicpricebooks.com and save $2 off if you use my promo code Taylor Talks Comics. All the information is down in the description below. So this is Ultimate Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1. We've seen Marvel release the Ultimate Spider-Man. They've done, I think they're doing 6 now of those omnibuses, because they're doing 1 through 5, and then also the Death of, which kind of crosses over a little bit with Volume 5, or double dips at least. Then we've seen, I think, 3 Ultimate X-Men omnibuses that have either come out or been announced. And then we have the Ultimates, obviously. But Ultimate Fantastic Four gets their first one, Volume 1. And I think its second volume would conclude the series. But the Ultimate series of Marvel, as I show off this book, was started in the early aughts as a way to kind of bring about the Marvel Universe for newer fans. Maybe fans that didn't want to, or felt daunted by the 30, 40 years of continuity, could start at the ground floor with these characters. And these creators kind of gave them a fresh look, a fresh paint job. So they updated and changed these classic heroes reinvented, as it says on there. So some things would change, some things would stay the same. But also, it was very popular, was the Ultimate series. And it was very pivotal to me as a reader back then, as a teenager when these were coming out. And Ultimate Spider-Man was definitely like must read for me. That was one of the pivotal books in my teenage years that was I looked forward to reading every time it came out. Ultimate Fantastic Four, though, I realized as I was reading this, I'm showing off the what's underneath the dust jacket, and that I had not read all of this. I thought I had read all of Ultimate Fantastic Four back in the day. I thought I had all the trade paperbacks. But I think I've only read about half of this before, because a lot of this was new to me. So we open up, we got these great blue in papers, great title page, and then here's the credits. Now, I have to say I don't love the credits pages because the way it's broken up, and there's no page numbers on the interiors because most of the pages are full bleed anyways. I have seen some publishers do creative things with when there's full bleed on the page, but still putting page numbers on them. But Marvel doesn't typically do that. So knowing who is the creators on all the issues that you're reading, you kind of have to go back and forth between this and back and forth between the credit pages and the issues, because I'll show you. Back then, the covers would have the credits on them, which is pretty standard for what modern comics have been doing still to this day. But so you'll have like a cover here, but it's like no trade dress on it. So the creator credits aren't on the title anymore, or not on the cover anymore. So if you're on Ultimate Fantastic Four number 3, you have to go back to figure out, okay, so that was written by Mark Millar and Brian Michael Bendis, pencilers Adam Kubert. Danny Mickey was on that issue number 3. Okay, so he's the inker, and then Dave Stewart the colors. Kind of go back and forth. That's something that, it might not bother you at all, but that's something that I always, whenever I'm reading, I want to know who the creative team is on each issue that I'm reading. Kind of helps me put names to faces in a way that I can, or maybe put art to names is what the more proper way to say that. And there were some artists throughout here that I really, really enjoyed, Adam Kubert being one of them. I think Adam and Andy Kubert, the more I read comics that they've drawn, the more I enjoy their artwork. So now we're going to dive right in. So this collects issues 1 through 32 of Ultimate Fantastic Four plus Ultimate Fantastic Four Annual #1. And this is a retelling of the Fantastic Four origin that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby put together in 1961. And they stretch across, kind of similar to the Spider-Man one. Spider-Man, they took the Steve Ditko, Stan Lee origin story and they stretched it over the first 6-issue arc. So the first 6 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man tell the 11 or 12 page origin that's told in Amazing Fantasy 15. Kind of similar here too. So you won't get right away. You're not going to get them going to traveling to space right away and figuring things out. And they do change things here too. This scientist here that's working on their project is the Mole Man eventually. And you'll figure out how Reed and Sue know each other or how they meet. And then Johnny Storm is like the troublemaker that's brought in just to try to keep him out of trouble. And then Ben Grimm is like the last of the team that's brought in just to be a pilot. And he's like, I've never flown a rocket before. Reed, are you crazy? And then they, want to go to this other dimension that Reed says he's discovered. So I did realize too, rereading this now after the fact, that the movie Fantastic Four with the number 4 in the title, the most recent Fantastic Four movie we've seen, obviously, as opposed to the upcoming one, but the one that has Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm in it, that they took a lot from this run for that movie. Now, I know that movie is, here's the Mole Man in his full glory. And again, Adam Kubert, great art. Now, the movie I know is lambasted for being awful or whatever, and I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. I've seen all of the 4 movies we've had released so far, including the 1994 unreleased one. And I think each of those movies had interesting ideas, or there's some good things about each of those movies. In the Fantastic Four movie with Michael B. Jordan as Human Torch, I've always kind of advocated that the first hour or so of the movie is really, really good. It's then when the movie goes off the rails and becomes really, really bad. One of the things I really loved about that movie was the kind of the body horror aspects of when the heroes are getting their powers for the first time. I think that's a really interesting way to go about it, since the original Fantastic Four comics were derived from the monster comics. Even this character right here is kind of what you see on the first cover of the Lee Kirby Fantastic Four issue #1. This is kind of the ultimate version of that. And those comics did come out of those monster comics. Kirby came back to Marvel in the late 50s and was doing the monster comics for them. And then they kind of just added these adventurers, these heroes, to the mix. And that's kind of where the Fantastic Four came about. And then it turned into a whole superhero, fest across Marvel's history. So that's still in here too. That's still injected into these stories. And I have to say too, so the first 6 issues are... Yeah, the first 6 issues are plotted by Mark Millar, scripted by Brian Michael Bendis. Now, Mark Millar did Ultimate X-Men, and Brian Michael Bendis did Ultimate Spider-Man, so it was good to have those two minds kind of working on this Ultimate universe as well. And Mark Millar did The Ultimates. But then Warren Ellis takes over on issues 12 through 18. Warren Ellis does... Is it really only the 6 issues that Warren Ellis does? That can't be right. Yeah, I guess it is. I thought he did a lot more. So Warren Ellis takes over for 6 issues, and I like Warren Ellis's writing a lot, and I think he's pretty perfect for the Fantastic Four. I kind of wish he had a longer run on Fantastic Four. Now, he did do a run on Doom 2099 in the 90s. That's getting an omnibus soon, and that was really, really good. But if you read Warren Ellis's Planetary, he has a lot of inspirations in there from the adventure sci-fi aspects of Fantastic Four take place in those pulp stories. So I think I kind of wish Warren Ellis had a long run on Fantastic Four. I think any Fantastic Four, whether it be Ultimate or regular 616, I think he's kind of a perfect writer for that. His run is mostly drawn by Stuart Immonen, too, which, again, I loved Andy Kubert's artwork, but Stuart Immonen also another great artist that I really enjoyed throughout here. So Mark Millar and Warren Ellis, I think, both do a really, really great job of capturing the fact that these aren't really superheroes, your traditional superheroes like Superman, Spider-Man, that are always trying to save the day against bad guys. That the Fantastic Four has always been about one family, because you have the family dynamics of, like brother and sister of Sue and Johnny, husband and wife of Reed and Sue, old college friends of Reed and Ben, and then new friends of Ben and Johnny. All those little dynamics and interactions I've always really enjoyed, but also just the fact that it's more of a sci-fi pulp adventure story. It's these explorers that are trying to explore the vast depths of science, whether it be new dimensions, new worlds, new scientific discoveries. And I feel like that's really captured throughout this book as well. I was kind of blown away how much I enjoyed this, I'll be honest. I'm a huge Lee Kirby Fantastic Four fan. I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan, period. The Fantastic Four is my favorite Marvel comic of all, eras. I love Lee Kirby. I love the Walt Simonson run. I love this Tom DeFalco run. I love the John Byrne run. Mark Waid's run. Jonathan Hickman's run. I'm a huge fan of all runs of Fantastic Four. In this one, with names like Mark Millar, who I either love or hate a lot of his comics, or Warren Ellis, who I usually always love his comics, I was skeptical of how haphazard it would be rereading this too. And then again, when I discovered that I had only read the first half of this omnibus, I don't even think I think the only Mark Millar issues I read prior to rereading this omnibus were probably, the first 6 issues. So I never read Mark Millar's last 12 issues he does, including the annual. And I can't remember if I read any of the Warren Ellis run back in the day. But I enjoyed the heck out of this omnibus. Even the Mark Millar stuff later, which I didn't realize this either. That I know that Jonathan Hickman dabbles in the multiple Reed Richards from multiple dimensions kind of thing. I didn't realize that was started with Mark Millar. Mark Millar's kind of started that in this run where Reed Richards comes into contact with 616 Reed Richards. There's a twist involved too, I don't want to spoil, but he comes into contact with 616 Reed Richards, and you get kind of this dynamic of what's different between our two worlds thing. I didn't realize that was Mark Millar that started that. I think he does it in a really, really fun and brilliant way throughout here. As well as Marvel Zombies. I knew Marvel Zombies started in Ultimate Fantastic Four, but I didn't realize it was Mark Millar's idea, and how he starts that as well. And I think that's another fun story throughout here. I've not read the full Marvel Zombies run, the Marvel Omnibus. I don't have that. I think the only Marvel Zombies stuff I've ever read were from Ultimate Fantastic Four, and it was a lot of fun the way it played out. So here's the end zone too. They're constantly going into the negative zone, which is, if you read Lee Kirby Fantastic Four, the negative zone played a real big role in that. And we get Annihilus as one of the main characters throughout here. So as far as the main cast of villains that you'll see throughout here, you'll see Dr. Doom, you'll see Annihilus, you'll see Mole Man. We don't get to Galactus until what would be the second omnibus. And I'd hope that they'd put the new Galactus trilogy, the Ultimate Galactus trilogy, in that omnibus as well, if it, whenever it does come out. But those are the main villains you see throughout here. Here's great Jay Lee artwork too on this. I'm a big fan of Jay Lee, so it was fun to see his artwork throughout here. I think this is the annual, if I remember correctly. And then we get to this issue, which I should have said too. This is the cover of the Dust Jacket, and it was an interesting thing because back then they had Marvel's toying with the idea of this vertical panels on all their Ultimate titles, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen the covers of Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimates. This one is kind of an interesting way to play with that. This Jay Lee cover where they're kind of separating the doors of this elevator. So it's kind of like that cover. But yeah, that's the annual. And then after that, we get into the Greg Land era of artwork. Oh, we do see the Inhumans throughout here too. I should have said that too, as far as cast of characters go. Yeah, so now we get to the Greg Land era, and I know Greg Land, people either love or hate him. They hate his like kind of light boxy, traced over artwork for his characters and things. And I'm not the biggest Greg Land fan either, but I will say that his panels were like the static talking heads and stuff are not my favorite panels, because that's when you could see that they're too like photorealistic to me. I don't love photorealistic artwork in my comics. Like I always said, like I prefer like Jack Kirby to like an Alex Ross. But when Greg Land's doing like panels like this, like we're showing like utter destruction of the city and things, the Marvel zombies, those look great to me. Like I really enjoy those kind of action-packed panels. It's just like the static images of characters talking, I feel like is where, which I mean, I guess it's like not uncommon for comic book artists. I think they probably have more fun drawing the action-packed panels anyways. So maybe that's just part of that. We do get Magneto in here and X-Men. So throughout the Marvel Zombies kind of story, here's Thor, Iron Man. You'll get some cameos from some really cool Marvel characters, and it is fun to see these Marvel characters turned into the kind of zombified form. Again, I haven't read the full Marvel's Omnibus. Put in the comments down below if you feel like I might enjoy that, if I did enjoy this. But it's kind of fun to see like those alternate versions of the Marvel heroes. And especially like the covers that would come out from that too, if like where they're like homaging old classic covers. You do see Namor in here too. So Namor and the discovery of Atlantis is a big part of this run as well. And of course you get interactions between, Sue Storm and Namor, because why wouldn't you? You get this giant mech suit too, which it gets played with too. So there's really cool ideas and concepts throughout here. Playing with the old mythos of Fantastic Four. We get the Skrulls and Thor. So I'd say I enjoyed this quite a bit, and I was pleasantly surprised with it, and I kind of do hope they do a volume 2 very, very soon so I can finish the run, because I was surprised how much I had figured, just thinking back on how much I read Ultimate stuff back in the day, that I'd read this entire omnibus before, and it was like the next omnibus of Fantastic Four, or Ultimate Fantastic Four, that I had not read, but there was quite a bit of this I had not read, so all of volume 2 will be brand new to me. I'm kind of excited about that. So that's where it ends. You get Thing wearing a Brett Favre jersey here. Classic early aughts. Character reference there. Here's a variant by Greg Land, where you see the two different reads in the two different dimensions. So you get the white temples on the hair to show you got 616 read, and then the ultimate read. And then this is all the back matter I'm about to show you. Sketch variant by Greg Land. Here's the Ultimate Fantastic Four number 30 variant, kind of playing on that Fantastic Four number 1 cover, but with zombified form. Here's This Man, This Monster cover in zombified form. And that's what a lot of these variants are going to come out to be. So here's the introduction. I guess this was in... Okay, so this was in the Ultimate Fantastic Four number 1 hardcover. So this run had been released, I think, in 6 oversized hardcovers previously. So it's not brand new to be an oversized format, but it is new to the omnibus format. And in the introduction, you have Mark Millar and Brian Michael Bendis kind of going back and forth. Not in an interview together, but a kind of conversation going back and forth about the creation of this. Again, this was from 2005. And then we get the plot outlined by Mark Millar for issues 1 through 6. So that's really cool to see his kind of process, because, like I said, he was the plotter, and then Brian Michael Bendis was the scripter. So you can see, this is like behind the scenes stuff that's really, really fascinating to me, because the whole plotting and scripting thing, I feel like it gets kind of hazy sometimes as far as how that works, the breakdown of jobs. So you get his outline, and then right after that, you get the entirety of the Brian Michael Bendis script. So now you can kind of compare and contrast Mark Millar's plotting ideas to the script, which is, important. The dialogue might change some things here, or adapt things, or impress upon more things, more aspects, a little bit more. And then that's that part. And then now we're getting character designs by Brian Hitch. So I guess he did the character designs for the Ultimate Fantastic Four, which is important to note. And then, so here's Brian Hitch, and then character 3 views by Sean Chin. So Sean Chin then, I guess, took Brian Hitch's ideas and was doing these kind of character makeups for the artists like Adam Kubert and Greg Land and Stuart Immonen to kind of look at to make sure there's continuity within the designs. And then I guess Stuart Immonen designed Doctor Doom. And then Jay Lee designed these characters from his stories. So it's really interesting to see who designed what as far as how the characters look. And then here's Robert Kirkman. He did the introduction for Ultimate Fantastic Four 3, where he's talking about the Marvel Zombies concept, which Robert Kirkman, obviously, probably the most famous zombie comics writer of the 21st century. So why not him to write the introduction? And then I do love this side-by-side of the Ultimate Fantastic Four zombified cover that's homaging Fantastic Four #1, with commentary by Arthur Suydam. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Suydam. And him talking about that. And then same thing for the This Man, This Monster comparison. It was really cool to see that side by side. And then same thing with this cover. And then we get a Marvel Zombies Tales cover there. And then Ralph Macchio talking about the Marvel Tales zombies there. And then the Wizard 146 cover showing off 3 of the Ultimate Heroes to hype that up. So that's it. That's Ultimate Fantastic Four Omnibus. Hope you enjoyed this overview. I really did enjoy this book. Let me know in your comments down below if you enjoyed this run. What you expect from Volume 2. If I should expect to further enjoy that one, if I enjoyed this or not. And give the video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends all over Reddit, Facebook, wherever you talk comics. I'd really appreciate that. Anything to help the channel grow. And shop for this book and more at OrganandPriceBooks.com. Thank you guys. Keep talking comics.